So we finished the AFC last week. We're now going to transition into the NFC East. That'll be the first division that we tackle. Just to kind of give you guys a quick rundown of what took place last year in the NFC East. This division was trash. Straight up garbage. Washington won the division at 7-9. A sub 500 team won the division. The Giants finished at 6-10. The Cowboys finished at 6-10. And the Eagles finished at 4-11-1. So Kevin, first of all, do you think that this division will be better in 2021? That's the first question that I'll ask. Just straight yes or no, and then I'll ask the second question.
Define better.
Is one team going to be above 500 this year?
I hope so.
Okay. Not a lot of confidence, I know.
It's weird, man. Like, it's weird.
Okay. And the second question I'll ask you is, who do you think is going to win this division this year?
If I'm being honest, I genuinely have Dallas winning this division. Dak comes back. CeeDee Lamb had a great year. Amari Cooper's getting his quarterback back. Zeke Elliott's 10 to 15 pounds thinner. They get some form of a healthy offensive line back. And, God willing, their defense finds some form of improvement. But I can't really see this team losing the division for a second year in a row. I think their defense for sure is the question mark, is the hole, is the something that they need to work on, obviously religiously. But in terms of offense, if Dak is healthy and this offense stays healthy, I don't see a lot of teams being able to compete in terms of their offensive capabilities and firepower. I mean, when Dak played his 4 or 5 games, they averaged over 30 points per game. And I don't see them not repeating that success. So, I mean, there are plenty of other players in the NFL and in NFL history that have shitty defenses and find ways to win. I mean, Peyton did it his whole career until we won the Super Bowl and our defense decided to, be the best rated defense in that entire postseason. But, I mean, outside of that, I mean, really, it's possible. This league is made for offense now. That's where this is trending. It's a quarterback-heavy, quarterback-favored league, and I think that the Cowboys are in favor, not only because they have the best quarterback in the division, but they probably have the best offense in the division. You look at New York, you have Daniel Jones sitting there coming into his 3rd or 4th year. Consistency is kind of a struggle for him, and offensively, their star receivers are already injured in camp. Kenny Golladay hurt his hamstring, so he's out. No one knows for how long. Kadarius Toney was just put their first-round draft choice on the reserved to COVID list. Obviously, that is not that big of a deal because he'll be back before the regular season. But could that affect their chemistry? Who knows? Evan Ingram. That's all I have to say on him. And then the running back position is pretty much a question. Then you go and look at Washington. The quarterback position, the most important position, a lot of question marks there. You have Ryan Fitzpatrick, the king of 6 to 8 week success, where he looks like a god. Fitzmagic really just comes into fruition, and then for whatever reason he falls apart every single year in his whole career. And then you have Taylor Heineke, however you pronounce it. He had his 1 or 2 starts last season, and he gave Tom a run for his money for the majority of the game in the postseason. But he doesn't have a relevant offensive snap in his NFL career. And then you go into Philadelphia, and you have Philadelphia hasn't even announced a starting quarterback, which is kind of weird considering Jalen Hurts is obviously the better quarterback, in my opinion, as opposed to Joe Flacco. But if he's not announcing a starter, is Jalen having a bad camp? Is he not showing anything enough in camp for the coach to give him the nod? Their first-round draft pick, Devontae Smith, he's out with a sprained MCL for the first couple of weeks. Jalen Reagor, he was hurt last year. Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, that injured offensive line. They have 6 running backs on the roster. The defense has got a lot of injuries in the secondary outside of Darius Slay. So, I mean, again, they're my second team because obviously that's my girlfriend and her family's team, and I cheer for them every Sunday. But it's when you really look at it, can any of these teams outside of Dallas really compete for an above 500 record? And I know that it's going to be a 17-game season, but Kyle, if I got to be honest with you, man, I really don't see it. If one is above 500, I wouldn't be surprised. 2 would be a shock, but I don't know, man. There's too many holes on every side of the ball on all teams to really sit here and tell me. No, I take that back. Washington's defense is pretty fucking stellar, so I will not sit here and disrespect Chase Young like that. But As a unit, I don't know how they're going to find success.
Okay, so I'm going to slightly disagree with you. I'm actually going to go with the Washington football team winning the division this year. And it's like you just mentioned, it's going to be because of that defense. Not only do they have Chase Young on the defensive pass rush, they also have Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat
Beast.
is gonna have, I think, a solid year going into this season. Now, when I look at Washington, the reason why I'm kind of more favoring them than Dallas, Dallas is going to be my second team in the division this year, is simply because I think that defense is going to be the main force for that team. I think the offense is going to be okay because listen, Ryan Fitzpatrick, whether he's a starter or Taylor Heineke, I think that offense is going to be able to produce, but I think it's going to be a large part due to the defense stepping up and giving the offense opportunistic opportunities to score. So that's where I kind of see going with Washington. The defense is going to be the main force of the team. It's going to set the offense up nicely. I think they'll probably finish maybe a game or two above 500. That's pretty much where I see it. I think outside of that, I don't really see this team being in the top of the NFC. They're not going to be like 13-4 or 12-5. I think at best they'll be 10-7. At best, more likely they'll be 9-8 or 8-9. There's no guarantee that I think that the divisional winner from the NFC East is going to be above 500 this year. With the Cowboys, look, you're getting Dak back, so I think the offense will be able to produce better than it did last year after he suffered that gruesome leg break early in the season last year. But I just can't trust their defense. Kevin, they gave up 473 points last year. It's one of the worst statistical defenses ever. Ever. So, I mean, the Lions and the Vikings had worse defenses last year as far as points totals go. The Lions had 519 points given up. The Vikings had 475. Dallas was at 473. So they had a top three worst scoring defense.
Okay,
And
when your
I just
offense isn't putting up points, you're giving the ball back. The defense is exhausted. If you're putting up points, that's more time the defense gets rest.
I just don't think that team is going to have enough simply just because I think the defense is going to give up so many points. It's going to put so much pressure on the Cowboys to score. And I think opposing defenses are going to be able to slow down Dak enough. Because let's be honest here, Dak is great in moments, but there are times where that team struggles to play well offensively. And if they're going up against a good defense, if they're able to lock up Amari Cooper and slow down CeeDee Lamb, if they can slow down those running lanes for Ezekiel Elliott, it's going to leave the Cowboys offense in a little bit of a predicament. And when you look at the defensive side of the ball, they're like Swiss cheese back there. They're going to give up 30 points a game. So I just don't have a lot of faith in the Cowboys this year simply because of their defense. But I still think that they finish second in the division. Because to me, I have no faith whatsoever in either the Giants or the Eagles. The Eagles are still lingering from all the BS that they dealt with last year. They did have some sort of moderate success with Jalen Hurts compared to Carson Wentz because it looked like to me when Carson was playing, the offensive line did not want to protect him whatsoever. So that's kind of a really kind of want to dig deeper into a story, kind of look at the offensive line and how they were protecting Carson Wentz compared to Jalen Hurts. Because I don't think that offensive line really trusted Carson anymore. So I think Jalen Hurts was kind of like a breath of fresh air for that team. So maybe they have a slight improvement from last year, but I think by and large, they're going to be like 5-12, maybe like 6-11 at best. I don't really see that team going much higher than that. And then with the Giants, it's like you mentioned. I just don't have a lot of faith in Daniel Jones. Just there's too many inconsistencies on that side of the ball in the offense. Saquon is coming back. I imagine he'll have a pretty solid year. I just don't know how reliable he's going to be just coming off of that knee injury. But I do expect him to have somewhat of a bounce back year just because I think he's got something to prove after missing last year. I need to see a little bit more from the Giants. I thought by and large last year, their defense is what kept them in it. It's just the offense just wasn't able to score any points. They only scored 280 points as an offense. It was the worst offense in the NFC by far. So, they're going to have to definitely step up the offensive production if they're going to be a relevant team to contend with in the NFC East. But I just don't really see that happening. So if I had to go in order, I would have Washington first. They'll win the division. Cowboys will be right behind them. I, I'll pick the Giants third. I think the Giants will finish third, and then I got the Eagles at fourth. But that's how I have it set up. But I got Washington winning the division.